Jackson Jr. Now enjoys the red light more than our own 3D. I saw you up there. You're in the studio. I mean, look at the big smile in the watch. I mean, how do you not?
Woo! That watch is blinging right now. Blinding me over here. Whoa. Goodness.
What's the biggest difference between you as a person a year ago when you were in this room on this date and now?
Well, I wasn't shaking tremendously the whole time. I was a little more relaxed. But being on the other side of the camera, it was great getting to interview these guys. And, something that was so consistent is this class is just so humble. Like, they're just great kids. And there's no phony in them at all. From 1 to 14, usually the guys in the lotto, the guys I was interviewing, but all those guys really.
If you would have gone back to last year and could have given yourself a piece of advice, now, Jaron, having gone through your first year, which maybe now you can do with Ja, what would you be telling yourself?
If it doesn't come immediately, don't get frustrated because that'll rattle you a little bit. I mean, all these guys were the best players at where they were from, so they're coming into the league. It's not really starting over, but it is starting a little lower. You got to learn the game kind of in a new way, in a new headspace, and you got to stay level-headed. But keep asking questions. You got a bunch of people to lean on. Ja's gonna have us to lean on, and specifically for him, he'll have nothing to worry about. So,
Jared, you got a chance to come in with two veterans, Marc Gasol and Mike Conley. Neither of those guys are there. Talk about how much they helped you and what you can pass on to Ja Morant because of the veterans you had.
Well, first off, Mark and Mike, they meant everything to the city, not just their game, just how they were as people. And that always rubbed off on us, even if they didn't give us direct advice, they led by example. And, when you lose vets like that, you got to come together as a team, pick one another up. I'm not a vet, but, there's things that I learned in my first year that I could tell Ja. There's things that Kyle knows, there's things that Dylan knows from his years of playing. So, everyone has their own stories, but you lean on all your guys for help. It don't matter who they are.
Jaron, you're obviously not much older than these guys, this rookie class. Of this group, who did you know that you were going against a couple years ago in the AAU circuit and all that? And you said, what? That one's special.
Yeah, RJ. RJ was, that's like my brother. I've always been playing against him. I played against him in FIBA and out there too because he's on the Canada team. So we've had some battles, and in high school too against Mount Verde. So, I've always saw that dog in him, and I just always appreciated that he's going hard all the time. Don't matter if we're friends. Probably because we were friends, it was worse. So, he's one guy I can think of. But all these guys, I've been seeing them at camps, like Cam Reddish, who I think, people really got to stop sleeping because I've seen some stuff. He's taking off on dudes, and he's really going to catch a lot of people by surprise, but not me. I'm already knowing.
Not you?
Not me. I'm already knowing.
So you didn't get dunked on your whole rookie year?
A little bit, but short-term memory.
Short-term memory.
And now the footage. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, look, you would do that to me on NBA TV. Look at you.
Listen, man, you guys drafted a great one in Ja Morant. What do you see in his game, and how do you think it fits with your game? How do you guys think you guys mix together? Because guess what? You guys are now the building blocks for the Memphis Grizzlies. Yep. You talked about Mike Conley and Gasol and what they meant to the city. Now it's you and Ja, what you guys mean to the city, what you mean to this team.
Well, it's not just us. I mean, we're going to have a ton of help. You look at all the guys. You look at Dylan, Kyle. You look at the guys, in the trade with Mike, Jay, and all them. They can come in and help right away. But specifically about Ja, he's versatile. That's what I bring. That's what he brings. You see him on his team. He's passing, rebounding, scoring. He's getting triple-doubles. His usage rate's at an all-time high. So I'm just looking for him to do similar things with us.
All right, well, listen, first of all, thank you. And I'm sure you remember your enjoyment in this building because it was just passed to me. Your career-high 36-point game, I forgot, was in this building.
Yeah.
2 overtime. So
he went to that school.
Yeah, not Michigan, but the other.
Yeah, the Michigan State. He went to that school.
Yeah, you know the name. Don't act like you don't know.
Come on, man. Well, you're wearing Tar Heel colors, so
he got on the right color tonight. That's all that matters.
Yeah. You know what?
Okay. Excuse me.
He's liking that outfit.
Hey,
I love it.
Since you want, hey, you know what? Let's try something. Since you want to be part of this, to remind you that your career should take slow. I know Andy knows it, but Andy, stay right there. Let's give you the pick for the Detroit Pistons, and why don't you tell us how do I say that name, Jaron?
Sekou Doumbouya.
Okay, that's not bad. That wasn't terrible.
Hey, but look, I gave it effort.
You nailed it.
There you
now,
go.
do we have some footage? Let Jaron break down his game. Let's show some video. Go ahead, Mr. Jackson. Take over. What do you got?
So let's say that, transition, he can handle the rock. He's pushing it with his right, getting blocks. He's quick off his feet. His second jump's probably really good. You know, I see a lot of, look, he's raw, but he's athletic. He's trying. I like that. He's driving to the basket. Okay. Oh, and he's got the left. All right, so he's showing his right and his left. He's got both. He's athletic. He's young. And he looks like he's ready to go. And he's got a great name.
Oh, we have Smitty's replacement when he retires.
Hey, Smitty, he's ready to take your job off the roof.
That's what we do at Michigan State. We're going to be next.
Ain't nobody taking nothing. We're going to do it together.
That's how you're supposed to look at it, young fella. I like that.
Go green.
Jared, appreciate it. Andy, now we'll let you at. This is a player a lot of people like, even though coming from overseas, the knowledge base not as good for some.
Well, he's definitely a player who caught fire over the last month or so in the NBA draft, and we'll see this a lot. Detroit, by the way, has a history, not a great history always, of going international. Don't want to bring up Darko, but I will. But this is a player that certainly, Tom, if he is playing right away, you know, potentially a little raw, but could help them, or we'll wait and see. You know,
draft and stash?
Yes.
Are you going to say it? Are you going to say
draft
it?
and stash, maybe.
All right. So the draft and stash concept is you let him ripen and improve as a player on somebody else's dime over in Europe. Then you bring him in and put him on his rookie scale when he's ready. I'm not sure this is a candidate for that. You normally don't do it at 15, and they need help. You know, they need players now. But we will see some draft and stash, and I know you just wanted to
you like
get
him,
into that.
right? You like the player. I know him watching videos.
I do.
Like
I mean, I think he's raw. I mean, we don't have a lot of footage of him, but just watching him, he's fluent. He moves well at his size. And here's a kid. You just never know. When you have an athletic guy that's athletic, and also you have some other guys that he can learn from in Drummond and Blake Griffin. And like, you know, Tom said, and we all know, Pistons need help right now.
Now, you should always listen to coaches of players, because they kind of look, players get an idea if somebody's interested in you. We were watching up as we were getting ready our pregame show from Atlanta, and our guy Bruce Pearl, who was on set with us doing the tournament a couple of years ago, and he said Chima Okeke, who will be in the first round, and others. And Smitty and I look, I'm like, in no mock is he anywhere even close. But somebody might have known that there was a conversation, perhaps, because at 16, the Orlando Magic.
This is the shocker, guys, of the first round. Without question.
More than Cam Johnson?
I think more than Cam Johnson, that he's going number 16. Look, Chuma had a great season up until tearing his ACL in that NCAA tournament game against North Carolina when they had 17 threes. I was in that Auburn locker room. He was crying. There was no jubilation because of what happened. Auburn still goes on to knock off rival Kentucky and get to the Final Four. And Chuma declares for the NBA draft despite that ACL injury. Obviously, Orlando's not expecting anything from him, Tom, because he's out with an ACL, but I still think this is a high pick for him at 16.
Doesn't make much sense, does it, for a team, Tom, that needs guys who can help right now?
Well, John Hammond took a chance on a guy named Antetokounmpo at 15.
That's right.
And I don't know, what do you guys think his upside is? How high can he fly?
You know, he has unbelievable upside. I've watched him play a lot. I mean, the only down negative right now is that we don't know you coming back from an ACL. But before that ACL, tremendous upside. I mean, he played above the rim. He played extremely hard. He had a huge ceiling. It's just because of the ACL, it's a shock that you would take him this high. But talent-wise, I mean, he was up there.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, he was doing a great job against my Tar Heel before tearing his ACL. And you just look at the fact that he's somebody that has the athleticism. He fits in with a lot of what Orlando wants to do, I guess, from a defensive standpoint. But he guards very, very well. You thought maybe they might go in a different direction, but at the same time, he recovers from his ACL injury. I think they got a very good player.
I think it's time for high risk, high reward. That sort of makes sense in this scenario because Orlando, we joked about it earlier, they finally got to some version of respectable. They got over 500. They made the playoffs. They were hot at the end of the year. But what's their ceiling as a team? Where are they going to go? They need something special, and it's going to be hard to find, and so maybe it's a high-risk, high-reward sort of scenario.
You know, you look at high risk and high reward, and you think about kind of where you sit with some of the teams that are growing. You hear the chance of the Brooklyn Nets for Brooklyn with some of the unknowns that they have. Now, they get the 17th pick initially in that Atlanta deal, which was the Allen Crabbe switcheroo, if you will. Again, Atlanta, who also added Solomon Hill, so they're taking on some hills of contracts that they will eventually get rid of. But for the Nets, Tom, how do they set themselves up? Obviously, the fans are excited about the future. They hear about Kyrie. How do you see the Nets now moving forward?
Well, look, the Nets in a different way than Orlando had a very respectable year with optionality going forward. Their young guys popped. D'Angelo Russell came out of nowhere and all of a sudden reinvigorated himself. They could keep him, and the reason they moved Crabbe was to be big-time players in free agency. So they're looking to add another veteran into this building with all this enthusiasm. Can they get Kyrie Irving to come? Do they keep D'Angelo to run with him? Or do they go for Kyrie and Durant, as we've heard about, and other things to shake this up? And in the meantime, if it doesn't work out, unlike the Knicks, they can fall back to what they are. They just play their tails off. They're a lot of versatile players, and at least there's room for improvement.
And the Nets, obviously, of course, we talk about, they split a hat game, 3-card money. Where's the pick under? Because this, again, has been hosted by 3 teams. It was Atlantis, then it was Brooklyn's, now it's New Orleans, who has the pick at 17. So a lot going on. A lot of names, though, because of some of the surprises. Before we find out where the Pels go at 17, we go back to their pick at 8, Jackson Hayes, who's with Jared Greenberg.
Reported moves tonight around the NBA, and one man who's been reportedly right in the center of it is Jackson Hayes.
Yes, sir.
Going to the New Orleans Pelicans. Big night for the Pels.
Yes, sir. Very
How's this
big
feel
night.
for you, man?
I'm just really excited. Excited to finally hear my name called. Excited that my family is here with me. So just overall, just my body's feeling really excited right now.
Did you have any conversations with New Orleans through this whole process?
Yes, sir. I met with them at the Combine, and I met with them again yesterday, actually. So, yes, sir.
It seems like they love your athleticism.
Yes, sir.
How do you think you and Zion together will be as a pair?
I feel like it'll be a really good pair. Obviously, he's a freak athlete, and I'm a pretty good athlete too, so I feel like we'll match up good together. We'll play well together.
I was reading about the story of you playing against Zion in AAU when you were in high school.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
What do you remember about that?
I remember our team. We had a really good team, and me and Romeo were on it versus Zion and his team, and we beat him in Dallas, and it was a fun game.
Now you get to battle him in practice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
There were conversations behind the scenes about the diamond in the rough pick of this draft, and remember that this is the Pelicans, who already had, you saw Jackson Hayes and Zion. They had Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the cousin of Shea, and I think, Smitty, I'll start with you. I think you could argue that when you get past those known commodities, this guy has a chance to be the most impactful NBA player in that 10 through 30 part of this first round.
You know, he has great feel, he has great confidence, and he can get where he wants off the bounce. He has good size. He started to shoot the basketball better. He played the point. He played off. He played the small forward. He is so smooth. He is one of those guys that can come in and play right away because of his skill set and his size.
Smitty, I'm glad that you said that he was smooth. That's the perfect way to describe him. When you see him playing on the court, sometimes you'll look up, you're watching the game, you're like, oh, this kid's having a pretty good game. You look at the stat sheet, he has 18, 19, 20 points. You didn't realize that he got it because it comes to him so easy. Very versatile, can play on and off the ball. Versatility has almost been the theme for this draft. A lot of young, versatile guys going, and it's also a theme in the league right now, and he's a very versatile guard. I love the fact that he can play with the ball or without the ball in his hands.
So how come he had to deal with adversity in this, that when Justin Robinson went down for Virginia Tech, the sense was, okay, they're going sideways. They're not going to maybe even make the NCAA tournament. He basically rescued this team by playing the point so he can play the one or the two. So he goes in the NBA proving that he can play both positions.
Yeah. How competitive is he? Because there's going to be a slew of competition on the perimeter in New Orleans. If you think about what they bring from the Lakers, what they're drafting, this is what you want with young players, is a lot of competition for spots.
But I like that, because when you're a young team and you don't know what direction you're heading in, what you want to do is put everybody out there, let them fight for their minutes, and see who comes out on top, and then you determine who's going to be a part of our team for the future and who's not. And you get to see who wants it right away to start the training camp.
Let me ask you a question. You kind of poll the panel. Does anybody here really think Lonzo Ball is staying on the Pelicans?
No, his dad thinks so. He said that was the plan all along the other day.
To me,
why do you think he's leaving?
Well, I would start with, I don't have any knowledge of it directly, but we spent a lot of time with Griff, who is, to me, a brilliant, and that's not overstating it, individual in terms of understanding direction and culture.
Well, that might be
and
a
I
little-
don't think that this is the way you go when you're trying to put Zion at the forefront. You think about Josh Hart, the kind of kid he is coming out of Villanova. You think about Anning and Nikhil Walker with Buzz Williams. You think about to me, I don't see it.
I will say,
Well,
I don't see it.
I do, B-Wood, because, we forget Lonzo Ball is a fantastic passer. He's a great defender. Here's a kid, yes, he played with the Lakers. It didn't go well, but that was because of injury. Now is a lot of pressure taken off of him. He's a young player. I like Lonzo Ball, especially with a guy like Zion, who's a high flyer, rim lob guy, and Lonzo's one of the best. What B. Wood said, they have versatility. Also, they have young guys. They can fight it out, and one might end up playing the one can end up coming off the bench, one can play the 2, the 3 with Drew Holiday. They have a lot of mixing guys that can play different positions and some competition.
And in his defense, when he was at UCLA, there was no problem with Lonzo Ball. His father, another matter, but it wasn't Lonzo Ball.
no one,
Yeah.
is, but no one has ever said there's a problem
I
with
know, but he
Lonzo
was sort
Ball.
of hinting that will he fit overall?
Well,
in New
because
Orleans?
he doesn't. Well, first of all, he never comes by himself. Number one, although that
But I'm
may
saying
be
Lonzo Ball, the
set
person, the
apart.
player, that's not the
I
issue.
think that's important that
But
we
it's
say.
never been a
I
question.
think it's important that we
Yeah.
do get that out there.
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball has never been a problem
Right, yes.
anywhere.
That's why I wanted to say it.
He is a great kid,
Yes.
and sometimes
Fantastic kid.
sometimes what his father says gets projected on
Yes.
him, and that
Right.
is not him. Lonzo is his own man. Unfortunately, he gets lumped in with some of the comments from his dad, LeVar. But when we talk about fit, Lonzo is a great passer. Guess what Zion is? A great finisher. I love the fit. Get out and transition, get out on that track and just run, throw lobs, get everybody at the Smoothie King Center. Very, very excited.
Way to
about-
remember the name.
That's
You're
right.
looking for
Get
yes.
everybody
Are you
at the
looking for a
Smoothie-
sponsorship?
I really am. I go there a lot. Get everybody at the Smoothie King Center. Not just excited about the smoothies, get them excited about the fantastic
and I also
basketball
would
they're
say,
going to be
we
playing.
don't all agree with his dad, with LeVar Ball.
course.
But he was a great father to those kids.
Very good father.
A very good father. And I want to make sure we get that out there as well.
Yeah.
Tom, Drew Holiday is the guy I know that they love and think could be a veteran presence. It comes with almost $30 million. Is that a guy that you would be trying to move if you were in Griff's spot, or look at to be a leader on this team with these kids this year?
I think it depends on what Drew says and whether he's willing to play the role they're going to want him to play, where he's the wily veteran back there, versatile as you talked about, Brendan, the way he can mix and match. You know, going back to Lonzo Ball, we always had a list, an ongoing list of what we called fallen angels, where for whatever the circumstance, the player has a lot of talent, but isn't perceived as achieving. D'Angelo Russell is a perfect example. When he got out and got fresh oxygen in this building, all of a sudden now he's a major free agent on the market and was an all-star. So you could see that in Ingram, you could see that in Lonzo, because those guys are top-tier talent. Wasn't that long ago. They're taking number 2 for a reason.
Pelicans make a deal to go down from 4 and end up getting a guy in Hayes that seems to fit them, and now add a ton of talent in Nikhil Alexander-Walker. But the talent continues on. Indiana, remember, reportedly already has added TJ Warren, simply just in a cash deal, which we were trying to figure out with Tom how that works if it's a briefcase transition. But now it's Goga who moves himself into
Goga
Indiana.
Batadze, another player that sort of came on the scene of late. 6'11", Georgian, 7'2" wingspan. He's a player that once he got invited here, the buzz was he was going somewhere from 12 to 22. And look, he's got a lot of upside. We love that term, international player, Tom. But, he's someone that I think could definitely be a drafted stash. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
Well, they got Miles Turner, who was, when they took Miles Turner, they developed him quickly into a major NBA talent. I'll defer to Brendan, who's about a foot taller than me and has a few more years experience. When you assess or look at big men like this, what are you looking at?
I look at their feet, how they move, and what they're able to give you as far as their intensity level. When I'm looking at a player, I like to see, what do I think he does well? Is he a guy that scores it? Is he a stretch big? Is he a rebounder, shot blocker? But what I like to identify what my guy does well, try to highlight that, and then work on his weaknesses. And so when I saw those clips, and that's the only thing I've really seen from him, I saw a guy that had some very good footwork. I saw that he moves very, very well. So I like the quick spin move on the baseline, the floater. He showed some touch. So he looks like he has some tools, and only time will tell how good he can be.
And they talk about that he's a good rebounder. You like that from his 6'11 guy. He turned pro at 16.
Yeah.
So he's been playing basketball for a high level at 16. Obviously he might be some guy that you wait to see develop later. But at 6'11", 250, I'll take that size.
Oh, yeah.
We look at smart franchises. Last year, maybe one of the better players in the draft, and a kid, Lonnie Walker, who was hurt. So you haven't learned that, some of you, yet. The Spurs add him to who? Derek White, what, Murray, Bird, how many guys? Who will be the next? The Spurs are on the clock. But it's been a night of the brotherhood. Zion Williamson at number 1 in the pick for San Antonio. A guy you do know here in this building, Rodion Kurucs, a guy who played and was his teammate, is Luka Samanic, an athletic forward, big career in Croatia, averaging 16 a game. We'll get more as the Spurs go on. But we want to talk to you about a storyline developing in terms of drop. It was kind of a mishmash in that 10 to 30 even range in this draft for a lot of people. But Nas Little has become an interesting story, B-Wood, because here's a real talented guy, another guy people thought maybe underachieved because of the expectations. But how about the idea that Cam Johnson was picked 9 picks ago, Little was projected around that area, and at 20, he still has not been picked?
Well, Nas Little is somebody that didn't play as well at Carolina as some would think. I know he thought it had to do with the system. A lot of people and a lot of scouts that I talked to said that they thought it had to do with the fact that he just didn't handle the ball well and didn't shoot the ball well in college. And that's a tough player to draft early in the draft. When you're talking about a wing that's athletic, strong, and physical, but doesn't really have the necessary tools to thrive at the NBA level. If you can't shoot, they generally don't want you to be able to handle the ball. If you can't do both of them, you now become a project. And he's a project wing player right now, and so we're seeing his stock drop a little bit.
Yeah, and B-Wood, you look at him because he was so talented coming out of high school. Yeah. Here's a guy that didn't score a lot for Carolina, only averaged 9 points, didn't have an assist his last 9 games. He's a super athlete. He's, like you said, a guy that still needs some work. He still can have a great pro career. I hope he doesn't get down, because when you get selected, you just got to go in there and work.
Use it as motivation to work on your weaknesses. Let this be the fuel that fires you to get in the gym, work on that jump shot.
So that's why I think there's some similarities to Cam Reddish, because highly touted coming out of high school, not the first option, not the second option, really became further down in the roster in terms of options. And now he's sliding down in the draft. You were saying before, you hope Reddish uses being picked 10th as a chip. We'll see where Little ends up and how much he can use that to try to motivate him.
Yeah, and the good thing is for him is that he does have a high motor. He is athletic. He is aggressive. I know he didn't like playing the 4 a lot at Carolina, but I thought that's what suited him best for the Tar Heels right now. He was able to use his speed, quickness, and agility at that 4 spot.
All right, now there are obviously trades that commence. This could be one of those picks. There is a reported possible deal in the works where the Celtics would be moving this pick to Philadelphia for 24 and 33. So Philadelphia will end up attaining the player that we see in now a minute or so to go. So we'll see where we go. When you look at the Celtics, you look for maybe, especially if Horford leaves, size. What do they do? Robert Williams, an intriguing guy, but they're looking to move Baines. There would be a question, right, in terms of in the middle. You wonder if Bruno Fernando, a guy they probably wouldn't have to get here, maybe a guy, Tom, they can get a little bit lower, who certainly fits the bill of size.
Well, I think back to your original point with Boston when we were at 14, there's no way they're going to keep all 3 of these. I just can't see them adding 3 rookies to their roster. So you see him slide back to 24, pick up a second-round pick, which doesn't hit the cap, and then, we see what happens. I think both 20 and 22 and even 24, again, could be on the move, because Danny Ainge does not need multiple rookies on this roster.
Again, number 20 is on the move, and number 20 happens to be what many consider, bar none, the best defensive player in this entire draft, and a guy who will end up, again, reportedly on the Sixers, so think about the Philly mesh, a guy who you watch him, and it's unbelievable, Andy, how many times he gets his hand on the ball in a number of different ways.
Yeah, he was the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year, and I remember talking with the Final Four when he won that award, how much he loves to play defense. He told me that his father told him when he was coming out of high school, find a skill that you can excel at, especially when he was not a great offensive player. And he says, you know what, I'm going to become a great defensive player and rebounder. Now, it was in a zone at Washington for the latter part of the last couple of years, but the fact is he still gets his hands on the ball. He's reads the passing lanes very well, averages more than a couple of steals a game, and so that is a skill set that can translate for Philly in the NBA.
I love the defensive ability. I love what he brings to the table in that aspect. I'm glad you brought up the fact that he wasn't a zone a lot in his college career, because that's an adjustment period. When you're playing zone slide, that's a lot different than man-to-man defensive slides and how you get through ball screens and things of that nature. But I love the fact that he's a hard-nosed kid that wants to come out there and play defense and is hungry to play defense. How many guys you get out there that's like, man, I want to make it to the NBA playing defense? Most guys want to make it to the NBA hitting shots, so I like his mindset.
When you get to this point in the draft, now you're starting to talk playoff teams, and you start to talk about immediate help. And I always look for three things: shooting, just guys that can toe the line and shoot it; size, because you just can't find size. But the other one is a wing defender, a wing stopper, somebody that can just shore up an already good team and be a coach can trust him and throw him out there because he's going to be able to guard multiple positions. So I think you'll see that theme. You usually see that in this window of the draft.
And for when you watched him, I'm so impressed. You said they play a lot of zone, which is very impressive for me. A guy I have 186 block shots at 6'5" and also gets steals. That just shows you his defensive mindset is unbelievable to be able to finish off with a block shot at 6'5" and had 186 blocks for his career. He's a defensive-minded kid that can get better offensively. He has some offensive skills.
So if you wonder at the beginning if we were overstating the historic nature of the trades tonight, that was another one. How about the very next pick? Another one. So 21, which was supposed to be Oklahoma City, they had been attempting to move during the course of the day, perhaps with some cap to try and get under that luxury tax. They are trading back to Memphis, who moves up to 21. So when you look at Memphis, Ja Morant, we had Jaren Jackson here. Obviously, B-Wood, you think about Conley and Gasol, those days are gone. It's a new team now moving forward with the Grizzlies. Also a second rounder coming in this deal. Little, Kevin Gailey available. You got Fernando, Keldon Johnson, Brandon Clark, Bol. Those are some of kind of the next group. You got your point. Maybe you got your four. Where do you look at kind of here now for Memphis in this group?
I like Keldon Johnson from Kentucky. This is a kid that is competitive, works hard. I like the way he shoots the ball. He was another kid that we thought would be drafted a little bit higher, but I love his competition level. I like the fact that he can shoot the ball. I think he's ready to come in right away, help him. Keldon Johnson's the type of guy that I like in this pick.
I also like Kevin Gailey. You know, he's a sixth man, but he led Florida State in scoring. Dikembe Mutombo's nephew. He can block shots, 7'3" wingspan. I think that's another kid that might can go that direction.
Kevin Gailey, a guy, by the way, doesn't start a single game, still gets an all-ACC honorable mention, ends up leading the team in scoring. Andy, obviously, fit is part of it, but if I asked you best on board, and last time I asked you, you said Culver and he was the guy, give me best on board remaining now.
I probably would go Keldon Johnson. I'm a big fan of Brandon Clark, but I don't know if that necessarily fits Memphis right here, but he's still available. Kevin Gailey, I think those are the three guys, if you were to say the best player available right now: Johnson, Kevin Gailey, and Brandon Clark.
So can we talk about what's going on in all these draft rooms right now? Because the phones are lighting up because nobody knows who has what pick, and everybody's hunting a certain player. And you got Memphis going up 2 spots. What were they worried Boston was going to take ahead of them? How would they know? I mean, it's just like I've been in these rooms where you'll have 8 phones lit up with people hunting picks to where like the intern grabs it. I'll never forget one time it was like, hold on one second, Mitch. And they were like, Tom, it's Mitch Kupchak on line 9, but we were already in Portland. We had moved that pick and we're on to something else. It's just interesting to me what's happening in these rooms right now as the frenzy heats up for the immediate help type talent that's in this range.
I feel better now that Tom has told us maybe the GMs don't know, because certainly we're going to get crossed up at some point where, I mean, remembering who's got what pick, think about this. We saw 6 moved, obviously 4 with that swap that Atlanta made. You go to 20 that was moved, now 21 was a trade. 17 was traded twice. First, from Atlanta to Brooklyn, then ended up going to New Orleans. There are 7 players left in that green room. All-time high 24 were in there. There are 7 remaining because of the surprises that we had. Cam Johnson, for example, and also Okiki a little bit higher. Brendan, when you sit there and you look at the Grizzlies, they've done a nice job kind of resetting because they're going to empty up some space and go with the core. They've got Jaren and they've got Ja Morant. When you look at a guy like Keldon Johnson, why is he a good fit as we sit now a minute away with those 2 players?
Well, Keldon Johnson is a good fit to me because he has a high motor. You want to bring a kid into that team that's young and that has minutes up for grabs right now. You want to bring in somebody that's a high motor from the perimeter, but at the same time has the skills to score and get it on his own. So I think you pair him up with a Ja Morant and what they already have in Jaren Jackson, and it'd be a good fit. And once again, we talked about Atlanta in the culture. You get Ja, you get Keldon, you already have Jaren Jackson. You have a bunch of young guys, very, very competitive. You set the culture, and then you allow them to take their lumps for a season or 2, and then eventually they grow into being a very good team.
Tom, take us into the war room. When you get to this point in a draft, how much is best on board? I mean, how much you at that point are you looking fit still this
now
late in the first
you're
round?
a lot more fit right now,
okay.
and you're a lot more in a conversation with your coach because you want to draft somebody that your coach is going to believe in. Now, it sort of depends. If you're one of these, if you're a playoff team, that's what you're after. If you're more like Memphis here, just looking to get as much talent as possible, you may swing for more upside even here in the draft because you're not as worried about fit. You just want talent and see how it all shakes out, like you said. But how about Jaren Jackson? I mean, how about the brightness in his eyes when he was here? And
I thought it was his watch from here.
But you put him with Ja Morant, and they have this real identity now. Now, I don't know if they're going to pan out, but at least there's a clear direction, and he's an impressive kid.
Yeah, he is. I mean, the one thing you love about him is he has some size. He didn't come in as one of these big-time 5-star recruits. He worked. And then also the one thing you love about him is he's my son's best friend. He stays with me. He works unbelievably hard. He was talking about him and Ja going to work out tomorrow in Memphis, and that's what you like about all young kids who want to live in the gym and love being in the gym.
So he's not working out tonight.
No.
I don't think tonight, but he's working out tomorrow.
Jared Culver
That's
apparently
only
is working
Jared-
out somewhere here tonight.
Jared Culver and his family, and Chris Beard hopefully going for that. There were a lot of people who thought that it would be perhaps Clark and then Hachimura, but the Memphis Grizzlies going back to the old school Grizzlies because they go to a kid from Vancouver to find their way. A native of Vancouver, Canada, is Clark, all Mountain West first team, and a guy who can really crash those boards. And when you think about it, Smitty, this is the guy who played in a lot of big games and was one of those, I'm going to go get you the ball if it's necessary and get those 50-50 possession balls for you.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he's a transfer here in Gonzaga. And Andy, for me, at the end of the year, I thought he became their best player. I'm not saying he is the best player, but I thought in the tournament he was their best player. He dominated on the offensive end. He rebounded. He blocked shots. He did a nice job in Gonzaga. I love the way he plays and I love the way he attacks.
I wouldn't just say he was their best because he was also their most important player. He became the most important player for Gonzaga, I would say almost the second half of the season. The way he was their rim protector, the way he was a great rebounder. I mean, he shot, what over 70% because he was finishing everything around the rim. He sat out coming from San Jose State, improved his game dramatically. He's very humble. Speaking of that chip thing that we've been talking about where nothing was handed to Brandon Clark. He had to earn everything. And so he's embracing this moment, and I know he's going to take none of this for granted.
Listen, that kid, when you watch him play, the first thing that pops off the screen is energy, 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 energy. He has his own energy. And you can't coach that. Everybody doesn't have it. Some players just wake up and they get out of bed and they just have that want to. And this kid definitely has that, and that's why he was so successful. I love the fact that he dunks everything with power.
We want to catch you up to date on all the trades, but we don't have enough time. I'll tell you this, the Celtics 2 picks ago traded one to Philly for 2 more that are coming, but they still got this one at 22. You cover all that? The picks continue to roll. Our coverage, 2019 NBA Draft, NBA TV.
14th pick in the NBA draft, the Boston Celtics select this guy, Romeo Langford out of Indiana. Romeo, congratulations. Going to one of the more historic franchises in all of the NBA. How are you feeling about that?
I'm super pumped. I'm just ready to get to work, get to training camp, get to summer league, and get ready to put in work for the season.
Is there a lot of emotion going through right now? You seem kind of stoic about the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely excited, but I'm just a calm guy, I guess. That's why it doesn't seem like I'm too.
Did you have any idea what to expect tonight?
Nah, I feel like a lot of people here did not know what to expect, and really just seeing guys' name go past yours, and you're just sitting there waiting at the table was really nerve-wracking. But now I'm just thankful and blessed I got picked.
I'll be honest, I can't hear a word you're saying because it's so loud in here. But tell me about your thumb and how much that injury you think impacted where you went in the draft.
I think that impacted a lot just because I was able to shoot the ball as well. That's what I'm capable of doing, and that's a big thing in the NBA with shooting. So I feel like some teams were a little bit hesitant just because of that part of my game.
You feel like you're ready to play now?
Yes, sir, I do. I feel like I'm ready to play now.
Well, what's this deal about you and Beetlejuice? Two of you guys don't get along?
Nah, when I was younger, I used to be scared of the movie Beetlejuice.
Right.
Yeah.
So now,
Yeah,
what if one of your veterans in Boston make you watch it?
I'm gonna be able to watch it. I'm not scared of Beetlejuice no more. When I was younger, I was.
Congratulations on going to the Boston Celtics.
Thank you.
The Boston Celtics continue to make picks. It was a Williams last year, more of a risk. This, more of a safe player if you're looking for a guy who knows big games, Andy, and playing well in them. But many had towards the end, maybe even in the second round. Again, he is Grant Williams a little higher than some expected.
Look, I'm not ashamed to say this. I'm rooting for him. He is one of my favorite college basketball players that I've covered over 25 years. Just talked to him last night as he was preparing to hear this kind of news. He was a two-time SEC Player of the Year, and I asked him last night, if you had told the younger Grant Williams that you were going to be in this position, what would you have told that one? He said, well, you're going to have to shed 30 pounds, which he did, okay? Work your tail off and be in this position. He could have gone anywhere in the country, goes to Tennessee. He is a great system player. He was a winner for Rick Barnes. I think Brad Stevens and the Celtic brass will absolutely love coaching him and having him in the franchise.
Well, listen, we just talked about the Boston Celtics, and we talked about how this year the culture really wasn't set. There was a little bit of uncomfortableness in that locker room. When you bring in a guy like Grant Williams, who is a natural-born leader, you can fix some of those problems. Brad Stevens never really had to coach in what I like to call the real NBA, where you have to deal with all the egos and things of that nature. He got a taste of that this year. Didn't like it. So he goes out there and gets a guy like Grant Williams who doesn't come in with any of those type of problems. You're also trying to replace Al Horford. Of course, he's not going to be better than Al Horford right away, but he does have that similar feel as a guy that can that's strong inside, very tough, physical, good mid-range shooter. Doesn't really have the range at the three right now, but he's a very good mid-range shooter. Love his toughness and the way he goes about his business. So I think it's an excellent pick for the Celtics.
And I'm with Andy. You just love this kid. You know, followed him and watched him and had the chance to do some of his games in college. He's a team-first guy, but with talent. And I think, and that's the one thing is he'll let everybody shine, but at the end of the day, he's a winner. He still comes up with big numbers. I'm happy that he goes to a franchise like the Boston Celtics.
And Tom, I would assume we talked about, and you were giving us the dichotomy, right? Winning team versus team just trying to grow. For a winning team to take a winning player from a program in which he played in big games has to be, I would assume, a nice jump start for a Williams going into the Celtics.
It's plug and play. This is an NBA-ready body. There's no project here.
Nope.
There's no waiting. And to the points you guys made, I would echo it. You know, Brad Stevens would, I'm sure, smile and applaud this. And you're really making these picks in partnership with your head coach. You want to bring somebody in that they're going to believe in and play and give the opportunity to succeed.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Celtics have had a lot of success, but maybe not to the level that we thought. There are questions and unknowns, so what kind of nervousness will we find as we go out to our guy Rowe, who is out there in with a Hawks logo behind, and they've been a big story in the draft. Celtics Nation, Brooklyn, circa 2019. Go ahead, Rowe.
That's right. The Hawks are behind us, and the picks are behind us, but what's in front of us right now is the Boston Celtics. Now, the gentlemen right here are actually from Boston. We have a Jason Tatum fan, and we have a guy right here. Let's go ahead and get his shirt on camera. He has a six-pack shirt from the '86 Celtics, but they all wanted Bol Bol.
Oh, we wanted Bol Bol. We got some guy. No, we got some guy we never heard of, Grant Williams. I'm sure he's as bad as Romeo Langford, but Bol Bol is going to be the pick. Whatever pick we have next, we're taking him. He's the man.
I got to tell you, we're excited replacing Kyrie for Romeo Langford. and Al Horford for Grant Williams. That seems like an even.
I mean, Grant Williams is a 2-time SEC Player of the Year. He has talent.
It doesn't matter. Romeo Langford, if Kyrie Irving and if James Young were bad at basketball, he'd be Romeo Langford. It doesn't matter. Bull, 24, mark it down. We're taking him.
Who else is coming in free agency for the Celtics in the offseason?
Hopefully anybody but Kyrie. We just don't want Kyrie on our basketball team.
Kyrie, see you later. D'Angelo Russell, we'll take him. That's fine. We'll go sign, Kelvin Upshaw. He's way better than Kyrie ever was. We're good. Kyrie, see you later. We don't care.
And the Boston faithful has spoken. Casey, back to you.
For those who were not aware, an announcement, there is no longer any Sam Adams available at Barclays. If you go to the concession stands, there is no more Sam Adams.
Are we really considering those yahoos the Boston faithful?
No.
No.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Romeo Langford's a great pick, and so is Grant Williams.
Grant Williams is a great pick.
Well, hey, look, the bright side, Tom Penn, those weren't Knicks fans. Okay?
Are there any left?